Hello everyone, this is Theresa and I'm going to be doing my EcoDairy field trip. So, EcoDairy is based in Abbottsford and it's a demonstration barn of about 50 cows. And what that does is, in the barn, the cows stay for around a month where they eat, sleep, and poop all in one area. They also get milked by a robot, and there's another robot that will scrape the floor and capture the cow manure. And the reason why this is important is that cow manure composes of about 65% methane, and when left outside, it can release that methane into the atmosphere as it decomposes. Whereas in this demonstration barn, instead, the cow manure gets anaerobically digested in really high temperatures, and this will convert the methane into CO2, and that gets released into the atmosphere instead. The reason why this is a better option is that methane, as we've all learned, is a lot more harmful compared to CO2, and so by capturing methane, it results in an equivalent of 150 tons of CO2 emissions a year through methane capture. Through anaerobic digestion, they also produce about 175,000 kilowatts per year, which is the equivalent of about 33 electric cars. Now, EcoDairy has partnered with BC Hydro, and they have an electric car charging station, so that's also really interesting. And they have a robot that will milk the cows and use basically chip reading to figure out which cows are sick, which cows have good quality milk, which cows are on antibiotics. And by using this robot, instead of having human error or not knowing if the milk is good, this app prevents about 312,000 liters of water of milk wastage. The Nutrivia group is also researching ways for a small-scale digesters, and they are progressing really well. Unfortunately, we're not able to see it in the field trip, but please keep in mind that when you look at the anaerobic digester, just know that we actually have a lot smaller scale anaerobic digesters now that produce the same equivalent energy, and the anaerobic digester we're going to see is quite small. The anaerobic digester we're going to see is actually quite large, and the anaerobic digesters that people are using now are quite small in comparison. So we're going to go to the video of the field trip now, and I hope everyone enjoys it, and yeah, thank you. Alright, so we're at EcoDairy in Abbottsford. That's where the electrical plug-in is. I'm going to go in and have a tour. See? Woo! Okay, EcoDairy, let's go! Alright, so when you go in, you got a little bit of information about cows. Alright, so this is the information center in EcoDairy. Got a little scale. Let's see how much. Alright, so I'm the size of an American alligator. And this is the setup. So a cow will be on this little bedding in its stall, and their food and their bedding and their milking stuff will all be in that facility. Alright, let's go for a tour.
Yeah, welcome to EcoDairy. I'm
Hi.
Scott. My name's Scott. So yeah, on the tour here, we can show you why we're called EcoDairy. Part of it has to do with the dairy part. We've got cows. The eco part, we just do a few things and continue to strive with governmental support sometimes with doing different studies to figure out how can we improve farming so that we can improve the quality of the food and do that while still reducing our environmental footprint.
Yeah.
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 Show you a few things. We'll see how it goes from there.
All right.
Now, of course, our cows are listening to classical music. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, why not?
It actually, there are studies that show that cows that listen to classical music, they're more calm. The calmer a cow is, the more milk that they will produce.
Because that's the happier they are.
The happier they are. So simply by reducing stress, we can improve milk production.
Yeah.
And it's like by 3%. So we're like, okay.
Yeah, wow, that's a pretty good margin for a cow.
Yeah. For speakers, yeah, we're like, okay, 3% more milk times 350 days in a year. Okay, good. Well, 300 days, right? You milk for 300 days and then you have a vacation.
Yeah,
Right.
60-day vacation.
Yeah. Yeah, so some of the technologies that we have with the cows, they visit a robot to get milk, so that's why they have a necklace on that has a chip around their neck so that it can keep track of which cow is which.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh, and there's the automated brush over there.
The brush, actually, the massage brush, so yeah, we'll go check that out as well. And then like Millie here, Millie's got her name tag. They're all named after different elementary schools in the Abbottsford area.
Oh, cool.
And then her gray tag that she's got in her ear takes her body temperature. While she's eating, while we eat, our body temperature goes up because we're digesting.
Yeah.
So we can, that indicator, we can tell who in the barn is eating, who hasn't been eating.
Oh, so that way it's almost like a statistic where you're like, okay, well these cows aren't eating as much. Maybe there's something wrong. I'm gonna check on them.
Exactly. If somebody hasn't eaten for a day, that's definitely an alarm. But
Yeah.
typically on a farm, you wouldn't know that until milk production drops like 4 days later.
Yeah, and especially when there's a big farm,
Yeah.
you can't keep an eye on every single one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this helps us out.
All right.
Here are the information slides here. This is part of our, this is kind of like the kid version, talking about, hey, look, we can turn poop into electricity.
Yeah.
And then the a little bit more detailed version of it is over here, talking about a little bit more specifically about how the anaerobic digester does work.
Okay, so I'm assuming that you just collect the manure and put it into the anaerobic
Quite
digester?
literally. We've got a pooper scooper that scrapes the floor.
Nice,
And
okay.
it just shoves everything like a Zamboni, it shoves it all the way down to the end. We have a giant poop pit, and then from the poop pit, some of it gets pumped into the anaerobic digester.
Yeah. And then some of it turns into manure? Or fertilizer?
Some of it, yeah, exactly. So some of it's going to go onto the farmland.
Mm-hmm.
The perfect potion would be extracting the gases from it first,
Yeah.
and then being able to put the liquid part onto the field. Because then when you put it on the field, the gases have been removed.
Yeah.
Your neighbors would completely appreciate that.
Because
right?
then it won't smell as much.
Exactly. So at this point right now, we've got the gases get separated, and we can produce 33% of our electricity comes from
Well,
that.
that's really good though.
Yeah. We've had a system that's been up that hasn't been running for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
We have a team that's here now to run the anaerobic digester. We've actually got 4 little mini anaerobic digesters that are all working right now.
Mm-hmm.
So they've been firing them up. One's like literally 20 liters big.
Wow.
We have a giant anaerobic digester that takes like 4,000 liters. So there's different scales.
But that's really great because if you have a small scale farm, you can get some of there's almost like you guys are testing out the technology to see if it's gonna work in a small, big, medium scale.
The history is this giant building next door has this giant anaerobic digester.
Yeah.
Kind of like, think of it as like the very first computer that was like the same size of a room.
Yeah.
Not very efficient, but here it is.
Yeah.
Now they're actually getting to the point where it could be something that you could put on a farm because it's like the size of a hot water tank.
Oh,
And
wow.
that will produce, essentially, they're getting to the point we're hoping it'll produce just as much electricity as the giant room that we have next door is, right? The thing will become a dinosaur someday. Right now it's cutting edge,
Yeah.
but someday it'll be the dinosaur, right? So,
Yeah. Almost like the phone to the cell phone to like the mini phone.
Yeah. So what's that thing in your ear? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Hi,
Hi.
girls.
How's it going? Doing good? Leah here, she's quite a calm one. She's her and I don't know how, her and I became friends.
Aw.
She's my bud. Eh? Yeah. You let me scratch your chin, nobody else does.
Aw. So how many of these barns do you have?
So
'Cause there's around-
this is a demonstration barn, so there's 50 cows in this barn. Essentially, typically on a farm you might see closer to 300 or 500, somewhere
Yeah.
between that in cows. So this is just the demonstration barn. But essentially what you would see is this, and then simply just multiply,
Yeah.
both in size and, because you'll see that we have a robot that milks the cows. So
they come by?
So one robot has the ability of milking 70 cows now, but
Wow, okay.
10 years ago when our robot was purchased, it was 50 at that time. So technology's improved.
Improving,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
Hi, Abby.
Abby's got the best hair.
Aw, a little tough at the
A
top.
little tough, a little spiky, but also a little bit of that Cruella de Vil kind of thing. A little white on one side, black on the other. Yeah, our sign here shows just all the fun things that it's explaining what we do to take care of the cows, but at the same time doing it as if you're at the spa. Here's the spa menu.
Nice.
Yeah. Make sure you bring your rooster card. Oh, here. We got a pooper scooper in action on the other side.
Ooh, okay, let's look at it. Let's see the Cooper Scooper. Oh, okay, so it runs along the floor,
Yeah,
scraping.
So, that's why it's elevated up to the beds and elevated to the eating area, so that the floor is a nice flat area all to itself right here. So, and then they'll scrape scrape from wall to wall, scrapes all the manure down to the other end. It moves this slow, obviously by design, so it doesn't take out a cow.
Yeah, that definitely slow enough for them to step over it
Yeah,
if they
yeah,
want.
exactly.
So, the cows stay in here, bedded down, and I'm assuming do they go out into the field, or is this like their main home?
This is where they live. They're inside. We try to take all the amenities of taking care of them inside.
Okay.
People do think, oh, cows should be outside, which I get. But when you're this close to a highway, part of it's for protection. We want to keep them,
Yes, I've gone on the highway and gone through some rural areas, and there's a cow on the road, and you're like, why are you on the road?
They could be a bit dangerous, especially like where we are. We're on the corner of the, Mass Highway and Highway number 1.
And Costco's just down there, so there's always traffic.
There's lots of traffic. So, but that said, I mean, even other farms, some of them will have like we have here, the doors kind of open up, and cows can go in and out.
Yeah.
But you also need to make sure, especially Holsteins don't walk that far.
Okay.
So if you give them too much territory, they're not going to make it back to the milker in time.
Oh.
And then that actually has health complications for the Holsteins. So we had an Australian farmer who said he had bought a couple of Holsteins because they make the most milk.
Okay.
But because on his farm, the cows have to walk to a creek to get water.
The time it takes.
The Holsteins, because they're such big animals, it was too far of a walk, it was too hot, and it wasn't good for their health. They weren't flourishing there.
And so they were stressed and then not producing enough milk.
Yeah. So these girls, you bring them inside, they're close to home, they got nice beds, it's temperature controlled here for them. Essentially, this is quite a good place for them to be.
I agree. So this is their home. They eat, they poop, they drink all here.
Yeah. Now they do get it. They do get a vacation time. It's 8 weeks long, so it's longer than mine.
Yeah.
And during those 8 weeks, they go to another barn and they have access to outside.
Oh, nice.
They'll still spend 80% of their time inside, unless it's like a beautiful day.
Well, it's almost like us, where by habit we stay inside, or we stay where we're familiar. And so when the girls want to get milk, they go to the machine?
Whenever they want. Yeah.
Okay.
So some of the cows, like Leah, for example, she has visited the robot 20 times in one day. She's not going to get milk 20 times because the robot basically says, hey, you were here like within the last 3.5 hours.
Oh, you don't
You
need
are
to.
not going to get milked again. It's not good for your health.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean she doesn't try, because when she gets milk, she also gets
A special treat?
she gets this treat. So
Yeah.
she's like, is it my turn now? Is it my turn now?
Yes.
Yeah. Or some of the cows have figured out if you go in behind somebody else, they might have left some crumbs behind.
Oh,
So
okay.
you just come in to kind of clean up the plate.
Almost like puppies, where if one gets fed, the other one wants to get fed too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. So they kind of wait patiently?
Okay, so they line up here, and one of them gets milked for around 7 to 8 minutes, gets a nice treat, and then cycles out through the other way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that way,
Indoor and then outdoor, so the flow of traffic.
yeah,
Cows also don't like to walk backwards, so
yeah.
gives them a chance to walk in and walk forward out. So there's usually a bit of a traffic jam after breakfast, because when the food is first freshly laid out, everybody goes and eats. So once they're done breakfast, that's when Minnie will decide, oh yeah, I should go get milk now. So there's a bit of a traffic jam in the morning.
Well, almost like us, where we need to go to the bathroom in the morning.
yeah.
Everyone needs to go.
Yeah, it's always at the same time. Why can't we spread this out?
Yeah.
But after that, like there's really, throughout the day, there's maybe like 4 cows deep.
Yeah.
You might be waiting 15 minutes kind of thing, but.
All right. Well, why don't we take a look?
Here, we're gonna go that way.
Okay.
I'm gonna close this door here.
All right. Okay, so this is the robot.
This is Robbie the robot.
Robbie the robot. And he goes in.
Robbie wins Employee of the Month. He's always works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's hard to compete with, so.
Well, I'm sure. Oh, wait. Did I hear something about how cows don't sleep that long?
Exactly.
And so they're always up and down?
Cows will sleep for a total of 5 minutes at a time. Now, they might be lying down for about 17 hours a day, but they are doing that at all times, day and night.
And they're always doing something.
So by having a robot here, the cows can get milked at 2 in the morning because they want to.
And you know, so there's that old tale where it's like the milkers can never leave the farm because there's always something to do with the cows.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's one of the advantages of a robotic milker is literally the sales pitch that De Laval, who makes these machines, it is, hey, how would you like to go see your kid's hockey game or dance recital?
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
you are allowed to leave the farm.
Yeah.
You're allowed to leave because the robot will milk all the cows, and if there's a problem, the robot will also report that to you. It sends a text to the farmers.
Oh wow! So it's not even like
It,
you're almost always connected.
it's a farm hand. It'll keep you updated all the time. Each time a cow comes in and gets milked and then leaves, it sends the text to the farmer to let them know the update of, hey, we just had this cow. This is how much milk it made today. This is its
Oh,
average for
perfect.
the week. Like all the information that you needed to know plus much more. It's all like the data is all here. So the robot really does play an impactful role. Also knowing it's a high repetitive job. Nobody really.
No.
It's hard to find somebody who wants to do this highly repetitive job, and because of that, people are like, oh well, robots replacing the work that somebody else can do. No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's filling in the work that nobody wants to do.
Yeah, exactly. And the fact that the cows are voluntarily going in means that when they want to get milk, they can. Whereas with a farmer, the farmer's like, you're getting milk now.
Yeah.
Even if like they're.
Even if I really wanted to get milk 3 hours ago,
Yeah,
and
they
I'm
have to
holding
wait.
it and I'm stressed because I'm hanging on to it, that doesn't happen here as much. Plus, by holding that milk, now you've got problems with mastitis, complications with the cows. So having that free flow system allows the cows to be relaxed, and it does increase milk production.
Nice. Okay.
So bar. So it just opened up the gate and sprayed the ground again.
I was saying, hey, you can't go in. You've already been milked.
I milked you. Get out of here.
And
So she's licking the bowl, hoping maybe she's being successful.
some treats.
Maybe she's getting some treats. You don't know.
And so does the robot also just like refill the bowl too?
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
constant. Every minute it releases a little bit more treat. So
Oh,
each
cool.
cow, and it's a granola bar.
It's not even a huge amount.
It's no, it's not. It's actually more than you would think, but it tastes
Okay.
like a granola bar. It's got oats and it's molasses.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
Yeah. So once it's done milking, it will wipe itself against the little brush to make sure that it's clean.
The robot. Yep.
The robot, sorry, yes. The robot will wipe its little
There's an eye.
Little eye on
yeah. So hopefully, if this cow needs to get milked, maybe we'll get an idea of how you can see it being milked.
Yeah.
So the cow has walked in.
Okay.
It's now read the chip around its neck. It's adjusting the size of where the feed tray is so that the cow is standing in the right spot. If it's a larger cow, the feed tray would have moved the other direction. So it's kind of like adjusting your car seat.
Yeah, okay.
And now this first pump, we're using a red laser, the red light there, it's going to visit each of the teats. And what it's going to do is use just water and air, and it's going to just clean around the teats. And then it also takes a small milk sample. It's going to go over to the silver section over here, and it's going to do a milk check. It's going to check for the clarity of the milk. If the clarity is fine, then that's the milk that's going to go into our milk tank. If there's an issue with this cow and the clarity is something's wrong with the clarity, it still milks for the safety of the cow and the health of the cow, but for our health and safety, that milk will not be directed towards the milk tank. It gets separated.
Oh, okay.
And then,
cool.
of course,
And it
because
gets recorded.
it's recorded, and it
Yeah.
sends a text to the farmer and says, "Hey, we're not using this cow's milk right now. Come figure out why."
Yeah, exactly.
And it could be something as simple as it was too muddy. Cow laid down in some mud, and the robot just couldn't do a good enough job cleaning it off. It could be something like that, or maybe this is the first steps of some sort of health issue. But it's been caught.
But that's good though, because if it's a little too muddy, then the first time around the milk doesn't get used. But it also it's a small amount that's lost, and it's like with a machine, it definitely makes up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, or if that milk went into the milk tank,
It could corrupt it.
we could corrupt the whole milk
Yeah.
tank, and now we've lost a lot of thousands of liters.
Yes, exactly.
So,
Yeah, it's a good.
so here, this is a cow makes about 32 liters of milk. That's a Canadian average. 32
Wow,
liters of milk.
that's a lot of milk.
Yeah. Per day, per cow. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. So this is where the feed comes from.
Yeah, so this is new technology. Hydrocrete, this is the second. The first one's the building right next door.
Okay.
This is the system that grows wheatgrass seed to feed in 6 days.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So you can see here, this grass will probably be cut in a couple of days. We're using LED lighting, cheap wattage, right? And then also Abbottsford city water. That's it. There's no chemicals, there's no fertilizer, there's no soil.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And that's all we're using. And there's enough energy within the seed that it will sprout and grow. And this is part of the feed of what we're giving our cows.
That's amazing.
Because it's fresh, every single day. We can harvest this every single day. It's vertical farming. We've got 6 rows. So every day we can harvest a different row, and then we can put this into the cow's diet. So they're receiving fresh, top quality. This is wheatgrass.
Yeah.
Same stuff you're gonna get from Booster Juice.
So basically, like this would be like the day 5, right? It's just starting.
Yeah.
And
So-
then it slowly progresses up to grass.
Yeah.
And then once it gets to day 6, it gets harvested for the cow's feed as almost like a supplement to help with everything else that the cow eats? Or is this all that?
Well, and that's the experiment that we're doing right now, is what percentage of this should be part of the cow's diet. We
Okay.
started at 5%. We did notice that milk production went up.
Okay.
We pulled it back away from them, and we noticed that the milk production returned back to its normal levels. So
Okay.
now we're going to try 10, 15, 20, 25%.
Okay.
We'll find that sweet spot to kind of see. So we're working with this now with the idea that we could sell this and show this to other farmers.
Yeah. And
Upside, this room
so small.
is 1,200 square feet. It grows as much feed as 30 acres of land.
That's amazing. So much land saved, and especially with places where you're surrounded almost by the city, and this will help so much with how much room one cow needs to produce milk and be efficient.
When you see how much of the Fraser Valley is used to grow grass or corn to feed animals, well, what if we could grow that indoors? What could we use the agricultural land for now?
Exactly, yeah.
So it just opens up, not only does this solve an issue, but it opens up other opportunities that farmers wouldn't have had before, right? So,
Yeah.
that it flies through the cows almost too fast,
Oh, okay.
right? So we need something that's higher in fiber to help slow it down. These are oat hulls. If you and I ate oat hulls, it would look exactly the same on the other end.
Okay.
If you're a cow, you can get fiber content from this, and by eating this, it slows down their whole entire digestive system. They can actually get more nutrients from the hydrogreen
because it's in there longer.
It's in there longer.
Oh, okay, cool.
So this oat hulls is waste from a bakery.
Oh, okay, so it's...
They've taken the oats, they've got these hulls left over, they were paying an environmental fee and being charged that to get rid of it.
Instead, you send a truck over and you take it.
We take it, and now we're using it as feed. They're happy because they're getting rid of it.
And
we're happy because we got this really, really cheap food.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah, that's great.
So this is what it looks like after 6 days of growth.
Oh, okay.
So the cows will get to eat. You see the green grass on top?
Yeah.
They'll eat the green grass. They eat all the roots and then the seeds as well. The whole thing is all nutrition for them.
So there's almost no waste.
There's no waste.
Yeah,
No.
that's great.
They eat the whole thing. Now the waste that comes in that system happens to be the runoff of the water
Yes.
at this point.
But there's no fertilizer.
Nope.
So there's no
So now we're trying to figure out what to do with it. So if this was closer to the cows, you could have fed it to the cows, and now it's a nice starchy, sugary water,
Yeah.
which would be great for a dairy cow.
Yeah.
Or do you filter it and then it just recycles through?
Oh yeah, okay.
Depending on your purpose, right?
This is the anaerobic digester.
So you've got this nice stinky, gross poop pit here.
Okay, so this is the barn.
This is the barn right here, this gray building.
And then the scraper scrapes it into here.
Yeah, it goes into our nice gross poop pit.
Here's the
So
poop
now
pit.
hold into here, so there's the liquid that gets
Yeah.
sucked up by this nice, wonderful green machine here.
Okay.
Gets pumped in. You can see the pump, hydraulic pump, gets sucked in
Over here. And then it sucks down.
into the anaerobic digester. Now this is, like I said, this is the dinosaur.
It almost looks like a cement truck, you know?
Yeah, it
With-
looks like a giant.
Oh.
Oh, sorry there, guy.
I guess it's not used very often.
Well, these guys just live in here.
Yeah. Wow. This is massive.
Yeah, it's huge. So this is called a push pump system. So basically, as you push more into it, that's what forces the solids out the other end.
Okay.
So they are, like I said, it's been dormant for quite a while. They are getting it up and running. You can see how they're trying to prepare the pumps. They just need to clean out the whole thing and kind of start all over again.
Oh, that's going to be an interesting job to have.
I'm glad I'm not doing it. Yeah, somebody's doing a lot on here.
Yeah. Wow.
But you can see how large this system is.
Yeah, it's really big. And so one of those cow sheds was a demonstration barn, right? Do you know how long it would take to actually fill this almost up?
So it pushes through, I want to say it was 90 days. So
Wow.
you would
okay.
push a product at one end and it comes out 60 to 90 days. Out the other side would be the solids that would come out the other side. The liquids, of course, as it's going through, are getting extracted, and it's heated up to 37 degrees Celsius.
Okay.
I think that's the magic temperature.
That sounds about right.
And it would break and helps break down the gases, right?
Okay, so it digests it, breaks down the gases, and then the gases are used to create energy.
Yeah. There's a generator outside. It goes through there. It fires off through that, and then that's what is giving us electricity.
And because the methane is kind of trapped, it's not released into the environment, and that kind of reduces our greenhouse gases as well, right?
It does, and also the methane, as it's trapped in there for a while, it starts to break down. And then it's not methane anymore; it's carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then the other fun thing that we're learning about is there's a particular seaweed apparently that if cows eat and you just blend that into their diet, it also just like, even if it's like 5% of their diet, it apparently dramatically reduces their farting. Which reduces again more methane.
The methane, So this is great because we have scientists that are researching the diet needed and how changes in the diet will also change their output. Just getting everything involved instead of just being like, oh, cows are bad because they produce methane, but instead it's cows are necessary. The byproduct, yes, is unfortunate, but we can harness it to create something good.
Absolutely. So you got energy, and then like there's still the liquids that would go out onto the field.
Yeah.
And if those people who are diehard vegetarians, if you're going to grow your vegetables, you're probably using a chemical to help enhance your soil.
Exactly.
Or if you use cow manure, those nutrients are going into the soil, and then that's live nutrients, and then that's going to help with the vegetation growth.
And fertilizer is a huge component of growing vegetables, and it costs us a lot of energy to create fertilizer. And so, if we can use something that's more organic and naturally produced, then we're heading out in a positive direction, right?
Absolutely. Well, and then the other argument when they talk about how cows, and they do produce methane gas.
Yes.
But also whether the cows poop on the field or it's spread out onto the field, that is enhance the growth of that grass or whatever product you have out there. That needs to be part of the calculation too, because instead of having grass that's this long and making oxygen, now you've got grass that's this long because of the fertilization.
All added nutrients of it.
Yeah. So put that into the math equation too.
Yeah.
Here, let's go this way.
All right. Cuties.
So he's feeding the
So if they're hungry, the machine goes by.
Yeah.
And the cows, the calves.
So it'll stay there for 5 minutes.
Wow.
If they haven't eaten, or if they're drinking it and they get to their quota, then it'll stop and move on to the next cow.
And it's the same thing where they have a little chip and the machine reads it. So
This is all about volume. So as it's drinking, if it drinks, let's pretend this cow is supposed to have 2 liters right now. If it drinks all 2 liters right now, then it's gone. As soon as it's done, it moves on to the next cow.
Okay.
If this cow, let's say, drinks a liter and then goes, actually I'm kind of full.
Yeah. Waits a little bit.
This machine will wait for a little bit, and then eventually it leaves and goes to see all the other cows. But in about 4 hours, it'll come by again and go, hey, you only drank a liter, and you could drink 2, so I'll give you another liter now if you want.
Yeah, so, and then it's up to the calf to be like, yes, I do want some.
Yeah, exactly. So if the calf was sleeping, like sometimes that happens, that's okay. We'll come back in a couple hours. More technology.
Yeah. Ooh, okay, here we go.
So this group literally put their stuff in about a year ago, and inside here there's inside this room, which is about half the size the size of the room that we just walked out of, there's 6 anaerobic digesters in here.
6? Wow.
Because they're so small. Literally 20 liters, 400 liters is a couple of that size as well. And the goal for them is, can they produce the same amount of electricity
as the
as
large
the
one.
giant one that you just saw?
Oh, that's great.
So part of their experiment they're working on is we know that you can add food waste, and that will enhance what happens with an anaerobic digester. But if you're a dairy farmer, you don't have a restaurant right next door that you're going to have a steady flow of that waste. So what they're trying to figure out is, what is the correct formula to optimally grow and to produce electricity or to produce energy?
Yeah, almost like you need this, if you're gonna have one of these, this is the minimum you need in order to sustain it and produce a positive flow of energy.
So I read an article of a neat story. There was a chicken farm, a pig farm, and a dairy farm in the Netherlands. Also close by, like literally all four of corners of a street, was a restaurant.
Oh, okay.
And the food scraps from that, all four of them put it into the same anaerobic digester. Because it was that diverse, they were able to produce enough energy and electricity for all four of those facilities.
Wow, that's great. And the fact is that if we can create a facility like this where it is compact like this, and you can have an environment where the animals aren't conflicting with the humans, and therefore we can all be closer together, and everything will be a little bit more efficient in producing energy and getting some of that waste. Because from what I understand, in like Surrey and Vancouver, there's only like 1 or 2 places where you can put your waste, right? And then the truck has to go in and take it and bring it back, right? So if we can kind of incorporate our agriculture to be a little bit more into our community and be like, hey, like this is what we have, we can take your waste and produce energy, and it doesn't have to go as far.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things about having farms close to, close to the city, and to be able to do it. And also, as opposed to all of our food having to come from, hundreds of miles away.
Yeah, we can have it close by.
You can have it close by. So.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I like the glass bottles of some of the milk. It's like, oh yeah, like you're just down the road. Like I don't have to worry about you being so far away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the end of the field trip portion, and I just wanted to give you a quick overview about how anaerobic digestion works. So, anaerobic digestion is where bacteria, microbes decompose organic matter in the absence of oxygen. And what this does is, in the absence of oxygen, the bacteria decomposes the organic matter, and the methane that is in the organic matter gets released into the digester and becomes biogas. And so what happens is that the methane, it gets released into the digester, it gets converted into CO2, and that biogas is then used to produce electricity. And then the digestate, which is basically the manure, the kind of liquid portion of the manure, gets pushed out of the digester, and it can be turned into fertilizer. It can be like put onto the soil. It can also be dried and used as bedding for the cows. So like when you're going through the barns, you can see that the bedding there, that part of that was used from the digester. And then so that's really great because it kind of, there's no wastage of the process, and the biogas either gets converted into electricity and heat, or biomethane for fuel, and like as natural gas. Alright guys, that's the end of our field trip to EcoDairy. I hope you guys enjoyed it. My favorite part was just seeing all the milking cows scratch their little noses and seeing how we're reducing our carbon footprint. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the anaerobic digesters work out. Really interesting to see if in the future we could have something like that in like a townhouse complex or a residential area. And so people would bring their food scraps and local businesses could use it to produce energy. And yeah, it sounds really cool, and I'm really glad I went and visited them in Abbotsford. If you guys are interested in going by yourselves, it's open to the public, so anyone can go. And yeah, you can, book a tour and wander around and have some fun. Anyways, have a good semester, guys. Bye!